Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin Chong Fires with a top report on today's show. Syrians seek local market boost, and luxurious Miami real estate faces rising tides. First, the headlines. Asian stocks retreated from a 7-year peak on Tuesday as caution prevailed ahead of the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was down about 0.5% after earlier touching its highest level since January 2008. Though traders were largely more cautious, analysts expected no change in policy stance from the Fed meeting, as recent U.S. data has been weaker than forecast and the strong dollar weighs on exports. The widely anticipated rate hike is not likely to be pushed up. The unemployment rate in France increased by 0.4% this March, according to government figures released on Monday. The number of unemployed rose by 15,400 last month, bringing the total number of jobless in France to over 3,509,000. According to some economists, however, unemployment in France is reaching a plateau. The weaker euro, cheaper gas, and low interest rates, as well as weaker austerity budgetary consolidation, could boost growth and lower unemployment. But for now, there are no signs of visible economic changes in France, at least not for the better.
Long-term unemployment is a problem for those who live it, but it's also a problem for society. There are plenty of dysfunctional things in society that are due to the fact that there isn't enough work for everybody. It harms societal harmony. It can create delinquency.
Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy said the economy would grow 2.9% this year and next, creating 500,000 jobs. Rajoy is betting on an accelerating economic recovery to win a second term this year, but opinion polls show his People's Party is losing support. Low oil prices, European Central Bank monetary expansion, and a gradual pickup in domestic consumer spending have supported an economic upturn. But with 1 in 4 people unemployed, salaries pressured downward, and rising inequality, Rajoy faces an uphill battle.
If my government has been characterized by one thing, then it is prudence when it comes to making predictions. So with this prudence in mind, I'm telling you, Spain is the economy in the Eurozone that is growing the most, amongst the biggest ones, and with a considerable difference above the average of the Eurozone. Who would have believed that only 2 years ago?
Pharmaceutical giant Mylan rejected Teva Pharmaceutical Industries' $40 billion takeover offer, saying it grossly undervalued the company. In a scathing letter on Monday, Mylan said it had no interest in payment in what it termed high-risk Teva stock. Teva, the world's biggest maker of generic drugs, quickly responded to Mylan's refusal, saying it would still move forward with the $82 per share cash and stock offer. The Israeli company will need Mylan shareholders like Paulson & Co. on its side in order to get past Mylan's resistance. Mylan said it sought a starting point of no less than $100 per share. The Dutch company shares fell 5.7% following the announcement on Monday to $71.72. Buy Syrian. That is the latest logo in the war-torn country, where 4 years of conflict have greatly damaged the local economy. I-24 News journalist Shelby Weiner brings us the story.
Sweets, spices, cooking utensils, or clothes. At first, this fair in the heart of Damascus is nothing unusual. Yet it was organized for a special reason: to push people to eat local and buy products made in Syria.
The production of our factory was interrupted more than 2 years ago because it's located in a rebel-held area. We're participating in this exhibition to keep our brand alive in the minds of consumers so they don't forget us.
Syrians are still there and surviving, despite a civil war that lasted for 4 years, economic sanctions, and a severe lack of currency.
The best advertisement in these times is to offer discounts that reflect the significant decrease of people's income. We took the opportunity with this event to give up to 35% discount.
Discounts benefit the customers because imported products have become too expensive to afford. Since 2011, the Syrian pound has lost more than 3/4 of its value. Today, it takes about $300 for $1.
The market prices went out of control. People there just sell at the prices that suit them. The festivals offer better prices, and that's why we came.
According to the organizers, the Made in Syria fair proved to be a real success. They have already begun planning to make it a monthly event and are looking to extend it to other provinces. For their part, the authorities are trying to help the domestic market. Their strategy? Restricting imports and boosting sales of Syrian goods abroad. For 2014, exports totaled $1.8 billion, compared to more than $11 billion 4 years earlier.
And now for a look at what's new in the startup nation with Channel 2 correspondent Noah Oron. Ms. Oron, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you. All right, so I want to start off talking about drones. We all know that drones are kind of the future. Amazon is planning on using them very, very soon. And we're going to see more and more drones soon in the next few years. But the only problem with drones is programming them. It's a very complex thing to do. You need hardware, drivers, you need complex computer vision algorithms, safety measures, and so on. This takes a lot of time. And this Israeli startup called Percepto is trying to make it simpler for the developers. So they've created a piece of hardware that basically saves all of that time, all of these processes, all of that process that we were talking about earlier. It basically saves all that, cancels that, so the developers can just focus on the app that they want to develop instead of all of that programming. And the three Israeli founders that started Percepto, all of them are engineers, and one of them is actually a former pilot, so they have a little bit to do with
they have a military background, so to speak? I mean, like
Yes.
you hear oftentimes about A200 and Talpiot.
Exactly, you got it. They're all related to A200, and they just love drones. That's why they started with this. And the funds for this project were raised through an Indiegogo campaign. And what's interesting is that that campaign closed at more than $100,000, and the original goal was only $60,000. $60,000.
Of course,
yeah.
drones are extremely important. I mean, we see now also in Nepal how they're used. They're not just for fun and they're not just for commercial use. I mean, they can actually save lives.
Yeah, exactly. And we're probably going to see them more often in the next few years. And what Percepto is trying to do is basically make them more available to the masses. Now, I want to move on to a different subject.
Yes.
So how much do you know about your pension plan?
My pension plan, that's a very sensitive subject there, Noah.
Yeah, it's something that we really don't want to talk about. We don't want to deal with it. Most of us don't even know where our funds
Especially
are.
our generation, I think.
Yeah, so because we move between jobs. We have one pension there and one pension fund there. We don't really know. So the Israeli website Wobi, which usually deals with insurance prices, now they're trying to deal with the pension. So they've created Pension Status. It's a platform that gathers information about all your different pension funds and basically lets you know where your money is, how much money do you have, who's dealing with it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and most importantly, it allows you to compare different plans and see if you can maybe pay less fees than you're paying right now, which is extremely important. It can save you thousands of dollars.
This is internet-based? I mean, we're not talking about an app. We're talking about
this is just on their website, and they're using a pension SWIFT, which was developed by the Israeli government. And Israel is the only country that has created this sort of pension SWIFT. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. But Wobi's trying to to come up with ideas and maybe move on to other countries and see if you can create the same thing in other countries, because this is basically, this can help you see where your money is, and most of us don't even know.
More transparency. Sure.
So basically, the only thing that I wanted to mention apart from that is the American website Mint. That's also related to the pension funds that I was talking about earlier, and I'm talking again about Wobi. If we compare Wobi to an American website called Mint, that American website allows you to just enter your username and password for each fund manager that runs your fund, and basically see where your savings are. But if you compare that to what Wobi is doing right now, this is a completely different idea, because you have to know exactly where your fund is. You can't just just enter your name and see where your money is. So,
well, Noah Aran, thank you so very much for joining us and giving us more information about drones and, of course, pension funds and how to manage them better. Thank you. Miami Beach continues to be a hotspot for foreigners seeking a piece of the city's glamorous real estate. But as sea levels rise, some question whether the tax money streaming in from new real estate developments is invested wisely.
Cranes soaring high, the rattling noise of construction work, and a coastline dotted with high-end apartment buildings. Miami Beach, Florida's famed tourist resort, is seeing a luxury real estate boom driven by foreign investors.
People are coming in and paying top dollar for units, record-breaking prices, higher than ever before. We have, some full-floor residences that are, 10, 15, 20, $30 million in Miami Beach, and they're not getting these numbers anywhere else.
But prices aren't the only thing going up. A 2014 federal report said Miami is one of the U.S. cities most at risk from rising sea levels. As global warming accelerates, low-lying areas like Miami Beach are getting a glimpse into the future, with salt water flooding the streets during high tides.
The water comes up, and we've had cases where it has come into the business. And we've had to pretty much throw away our cabinets because it soaks up the water. The clothes have also been ruined.
Miami Beach stayed mostly dry during the last high tide thanks to storm pumps that are being installed citywide. Officials say tax dollars coming in through new real estate help fund the estimated $500 million project. They're also weighing long-term plans such as raising city infrastructure above high tide levels.
You need to prepare for a rainy day while it's still sunny outside. Now is the time that we should be investing the money into improving our infrastructure in the city, because we do have increasing tax base coming in with these new developments.
But Miami Beach might not be able to aim so high. Some scientists say that in a worst-case scenario, South Florida could see waters raise up to 6 feet or almost 2 meters by the end of the century. Geologist Peter Harlem says that at this level, 2/3 of Miami Beach is going to be underwater.
If you spend it on the easy stuff, you're not going to have any money left for the hard stuff. So my concern is the longer-term sea level rise that's going to get real expensive. And if we're all broke because we blew all this money saving a few places that should have been moved.
But with its glamorous beaches and $27 billion worth in real estate, Miami Beach still hopes it can outdo sea level rise.
And we move on now to a less fun destination. We go to Nepal for a wider perspective of the situation in the wake of Saturday's earthquake in Media Watch with Daniel Roth. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Nepal.
Yeah, there's two ways of looking at the story on the economic side. There's a number of ways of looking at the story in general, but it's a very hard story to look at. The first, of course, is what's the actual economic situation in Nepal. Right. Nepal, of course, is one of the poorest countries in the world. Tiny GDP. Growth had been accelerating in the last few years, but the forecast was already before this earthquake looking to shrink. Right. So they're already in, and of course on the show yesterday we spoke about political upheaval, lack of foreign investment, already in a bad, hard position economically.
Right. This just crushes them, or as some people would say, this might be an opportunity for actual growth beyond. But of course, you have to rebuild first. Right,
and so there's kind of short-term aspects and long-term aspects. On the short term, of course, there are millions of dollars and thousands of people pouring in to help in various ways.
Of course, keeping in mind that the cost, the direct cost of this horrible tragedy is in the billions.
In the billions, yeah. We've seen numbers as high as, which are probably too high, $20 billion. Right. We've seen more conservative numbers around $5 or $10 billion in damage. Right. So enormous long-term challenges and, as you said, opportunities perhaps for building infrastructure. Right. Of course, looking at the short term, though, The Guardian had this very interesting piece talking about what is helpful and what's not. The Guardian was talking about don't donate your stuff. If you're looking to get rid of your stuff, it's not going to be helpful there. Right. But do donate money. Putting money into reputable organizations where most of that money isn't going to administration, most of it is getting to the ground, is miles ahead of donating things. Donating things is very unhelpful in most cases because now you're trying to find how to
the logistics of actually getting the stuff you donated to the people that need it. It's a whole headache for everybody.
Right, absolutely. And so the long and short of this article is stuff is not so helpful. People can be helpful if they're coming with skills. One of the things that marked these disaster zones in the days after is the kind of confusion and the free-for-all that happens with money, with people, with cleanup, with saving lives. And so the best thing to do is look at how your money, how your time, how your support, or your physical presence
invested, so to speak.
Exactly. It is a question of how to best invest it.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Daniel Roth, for those words on Nepal.
Thank you.
That is the end of our Economy Magazine, your daily source for economic and financial reports at I-24 News. I'm Benjamin Chong Alfares. Thanks for watching, and do join us again tomorrow.